Thank you. Good
Great
morning.
to see you. Good morning to see you. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It's too bright in here, right? Don't you think? I'm going to take a seat. I know Jasper is not here, but to the All That Matters crew, congratulations on your 20th birthday. As a Singaporean, I'm so proud of you guys. And it's great to see how you've grown from strength to strength. I have an amazing kick-ass panel here of creatives, creative founder, creative actress. So I'm gonna jump straight into it. So thank you for making the introduction. Can I call up my slide, if possible? If not, it's fine. Yeah? So I'm just gonna set the context a little bit about the creative economy. So the concept of the creative economy is, it encompasses many different disciplines, right? It encompasses the arts, it encompasses books, music, design. In some countries, they include architecture and gaming. It's very, very broad. I think what's really significant is the size of the industry and the kind of employment opportunities it gives. So if you look at the global industry, it's worth 1 trillion USD and supporting 50 million jobs. And you might ask, how would you contextualize Singapore in that? In Singapore, arts, culture, design, and media contributed in 2022 11.7 billion in nominal value added. And back to the National Arts Council, we support creatives and artists because we believe two things. One, is important for the soul of the country. It helps us to forge an identity, and of course, very importantly, it drives the economy. So I'm gonna jump straight into my first question. The creative economy spans many different sectors: music, theater, design, media, and so much more, right? So how do each of you define it, both professionally as well as personally? Shall we start with Esther? Tell us a little bit about yourselves as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Esther. I head up the creative team at the Lo and Behold Group. And I work across 15 concepts, from bars to restaurants to hotels, beach club, and our latest placemaking project, New Baru. So I guess to me, the creative economy is what gives a city its fabric. So if you strip away the infrastructure, it is what lives and breathes in a city. And this can be entrepreneurs, business makers, it can be creatives that actually come together and turn places from just buildings into destinations. Yeah, that's what it is to me. Professionally, this is the ecosystem that I work in. We bring together different types of creators, not just makers, but also businesses. And you can see it come to life at New Baru, where that's where we house 40 of Singapore's bestest creative businesses. Yeah. Bestest.
I like that.
Just before we go to Stuart, could you give us a sense of the breadth in the audience here of the different concepts and experiences very quickly that Lo and Behold has? And just very quickly as well, just let us know the different diversity of artists that you've worked with. I mean, I saw the list, it's very impressive.
So I think for those of you who do not know, the Lo and Behold Group is a lifestyle and hospitality company. So we have all types of concepts, from bars, restaurants. Some of you might have been to Tanjong Beach Club or heard of New Baru. And I think through the projects that we embark on, it's always from a place of what does it take to be a creative and what does it take to make it creative. So when we think about a development, we think about who can we work with in this world, not just Singapore, but architects, builders, artists, makers from around the globe and within Singapore to create whatever you see when you go to our concepts. Yeah.
So that's where the magic happens. Stuart, personally and professionally.
Personally, okay, so I'm Stuart. I run a company called And So Forth. We do immersive dining. What is that? Theater, arts, exactly what you were talking about. There's food, there's chefs that have worked in Michelin star restaurants were kind of tired of doing the Michelin star stuff, and they want to do something more interesting. So we built sets. You go through different rooms. It's themed. There's a storyline. There's narratives. We've been doing this since 2014. We've done 65 different dining things. Current restaurant right now that's open is called Absurdities, the world's most absurd restaurant, of which we won an award alongside Disney and Universal Studios in 2023. It is purely made Singaporean. We went to London, we saw a bunch of immersive stuff, and secret cinema, punch drunk, and all that, and tying in from the marketing matters that we're talking about play. I think that was the total DNA of and so forth when we first started. It was all about play and making things more interesting and fun. We saw the fine dining scene and I think the pinnacle of like dining, and we wanted to imagine what is the future and what is next. And we think dinnertainment is the future, and we went all in. 11 years later, we are in here now. We have another restaurant called Wonderland Upside Down, which is also based on Alice in Wonderland. Multi-room experience. You go through 6 different rooms, 2 hours. Every room's a different character, a different world that narrative, story, and the dish ties into that story. So it took us about 8 years to get it right. Only after the 8 years did we get it right and did Absurdities. So yeah, that's us, and so forth.
Thank you, Stuart. Stuart's being very humble here, but you know the award that he won in the US, it's very, very prestigious, and I can imagine for a Singaporean company to stand on the global stage, congratulations, yes. Shi-An, we've spoken to 2 businesses about what the creative economy means to them personally and professionally. How about from a thespian perspective?
Yeah, so I guess for me it's a little different. I guess I am the business myself, but for me actually I feel like I'm unable to separate what the creative economy means to me professionally and personally because I have grown up in the arts. Actually both my parents are artists as well, which I feel is a rarity in an Asian society, but it means everything to me. It is the reason I have a livelihood, I have this passion, and so I guess I'm continuing that legacy.
Okay, jumping off that, talking about the arts meaning it's very personal to you, I would like to sort of shift it a little bit. So we've been talking a lot about the crossroads between the arts and many different disciplines, and I think in today's world, the multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary world is here. Fashion and sports, theater and music, so on and so forth, food and theater, right? So, but creativity and commerce and business don't always see eye to eye, correct? There's this beautiful tension. So let's talk about the tension. How do you balance staying true to your art as an actress, as a founder, as a head of creative, and lo and behold, which is very much a business, while meeting your, I guess, business realities? Who would like to take it first?
Well, I guess like the interesting thing is, as a creative myself, and also working as a creative in the business, is that I think it's to ask why and where the tension is coming from. I believe that a lot of the times, both sides see each other as like competitors, and it's a tug of war between do you win or I win. And at the end of the day, if we can see it as a partnership, and a partnership actually built on purpose, and a partnership that is built on discipline. So, for example, if we think about going into a partnership, would the business actually have the appetite for creativity? Does the creative actually understand the impact it has to bring to the business? And when we have that in place, it actually helps the rest of the journey get a lot smoother. And I think that as a business also, there is a lot of discipline to follow through on your appetite for creativity, not at the start when you set the budget. It's actually all the way through. And I think one example would be perhaps for New Baru. So New Baru, again, today we house about like 40 of Singapore's local businesses. However, at the project proposal stage, it was really important that this purpose was super clear to everyone involved and everyone coming on. And this meant that we, as a team or as a business to understand that, hey, like, let's not spend money on things that people cannot see, so that we can actually spend the money on things that people can see and spend the money on the creative and on the creative businesses. So I think in that effect, it's almost like the two parties come together and work within this agreed ecosystem of I benefit you, you benefit me, I'll do my best, we'll follow through, and I think that is the best way to balance with a shared sense of purpose, a shared discipline on both sides. Yeah.
Can we deep dive a little bit into this? Can we lift the hood behind New Baru a little bit? With regards to this tension between creatives and artists and your business purpose, because how many of you have been to New Baru? For those visitors in town, it's worth a visit. When one enters the compound, one is immediately struck, of course, first by the architecture, which has a certain artistic quality to it. And when you dive and you walk through the experience of it, there are little pockets of creativity as well as the curation of your retail. There's a very strong creative element. Can you tell us what were some of the concerns you had at the beginning? I can imagine you would have had a lot. So tell us.
Plenty, I guess. I guess when you like Lynette, what you're saying, when you step into New Baru, I think what you will find is that with every corner where there is an opportunity to be creative, we take it. So it might be from the curation that you get. So how do we bring together a bunch of creatives? How do we, I think I shared it earlier, where we ensure that we keep the numbers low, so when the businesses come in, they actually can afford to be in this kind of location in central Singapore. When you turn different corners and look at the artworks around New Baru, I think we really seized the opportunity that the building was great and was done, but there was opportunity to again continue to tell the story of Singapore and also champion creatives in Singapore. So you will find, for example, we have a public arts program called Now, where we felt that, hey, if we call ourselves the creative cluster of Singapore, it cannot be bound by these four walls of the businesses you see. It must also encapsulate other creatives in the entire city. It can be photographers, makers, and I think that's how the public arts program came about. We got curator Dawn Ng, she's an artist, and she put together almost the Avengers of Singaporean photography, and they were able to display their artwork in New Baru on a project that had zero budget. So I think we went back again, the building was great, it was done, is our work done here though? And go back again to that shared sense of purpose and discipline to continue telling the story.
Thank you. My takeaway here is really about the shared sense of purpose and building a community. Stuart, how do you, as a founder, CEO, entrepreneur of a small, medium enterprise, how do you balance the business reality with making art? Okay, we don't have 2 hours.
Yeah, no, it's tight. Usually, because as the director also of the company, I kind of write the scripts as well. So a lot of times I'm working with a lot
Triple
of...
threat.
Yeah, I have to work with a lot of the creators, the chefs. Our first ever experience, we had a chef that came back from Noma, at that point, 2014, best restaurant in the world. He came back after 3 months, he paid himself to work there for free. And he came back, he was like, I'm going to bring Nordic cuisine to Singapore and blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's great. Okay, let's work together. And then we brought in a theatre specialist, a couple of LaSalle actors, all that. And then we got a venue and we did set design, all that stuff. We put it all together. And then the chef went past the mark of 2 hours of the script. I ran out of script, I ran out of everything. And we were like, what's going on? It's like, I know I need to put the micro herbs there and then all that. So I think a lot of it, that was the first ever. And most people would have given up after the first ever, super failure. And it was quite a slap in the face. But we knew that we were doing something new, and we're actually educating a whole new market, because Singapore had no understanding of what immersive dining was, and we were also discovering how to really get the format right, and the format only got right 7 or 8 years into doing this multiple times. So one concept after the next. But what's the tying thing that managed to sell a lot of the dining, all the dinners and all that? So to date, we've seen about 200,000 diners that have come through our experiences. So we've done, and the stuff that activates it is IP. So IP is intellectual property, right? So we had Marie and the Nutcracker, we had Valhalla and the Chambers of Asgard, and all these weird IPs that people like kind of know but don't really know, and that brought them in through the door and allowed us to tell the story in a way we wanted to tell, and allowed them be allowed to have a little boundary for the creatives to play around, and kept it a little bit more organized in that sense.
How, because it sounds like you had a band of brothers of great artists that you had to manage. So when you're balancing business reality and the bottom line, right? Share with us a little bit. Did you have to put your foot down, and how did you do it when it came to perhaps certain extravagances? How did you balance that?
I think we always had a budget. At the start of everything, we always have a budget, right? And then the budget is how it's broken down. We never, and then so far always started with the idea of collaboration. But because I used to be a musician long time ago, and we opened for Simple Plan, that was fun. The cool thing about it was knowing that I never ever wanted to not pay a collaborator, no matter what. So there will always be some kind of budget that's set aside for these guys. And a lot of them are also artists. Some are full-fledged, like things that they are doing for the sake of doing to make money, but not passionate about. But if you give them a budget, they are most likely, and it's a fun project, they're most likely to be able to work within the budget. That's how we kind of balance that. So our puppet maker is a guy who's done work on Sesame Street, Transformers, the Universal puppet stuff and all that. So like he managed, and so it's kind of cool to work with like all these interesting people. It's normally industry people that recommend industry people, and then as long as there's a budget to work within. And if you cannot do it, then they'll usually be able to recommend somebody of a slightly lower tier that can work within a sum of budget.
Your job sounds really fun. Shi-An just finished making a film called Amoeba. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it, and which premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. So the question, just to recap the question, is as an artist, as an actress, you would have a vision for yourself. And I guess as an actress, it must be very personal. So how do you balance that? Because I know you are a true, Shi-An is a true multi-hyphenate. She's a content creator. And for those of you who need graphic designer, she's also a graphic designer. And she's a stage and film actress. So how do you balance all that?
Yeah, it's funny because your question phrased to them was about how to balance like the business realities, right? And it's very applicable to an artist, because if you know any actors, you'll know that they seem very allergic to commerce, which is ironic because we need the money the most. But I personally don't see it this way. If I want my art to survive, I am going to do whatever it takes to be financially stable. And yes, I did a film, Amoeba. It did really well. We went to TIFF, which is a very prestigious festival. We're at Pingyao. We're going to several others as well. But to be honest, projects like that, which are fulfilling, which are wonderful for me as an actor, not necessarily something I can use to sustain me if I want financial stability. And I am not afraid of that. And that's why I have other jobs. Like I am a graphic designer. And yes, in Singapore, being an actor means that you also need to be a public figure, which means that you need to invest some time in your social media. And I don't shy away from it because I'm happy to make my money in other ways, and then I can focus my energy on finding acting projects that I feel really fulfill me. And I think that's a good way for me to make sure that I never lose my spark for acting, because when it starts to become, when acting is my sole business, I think that there is a danger of having to take on projects that don't really speak to me, and I don't really want that to be the case. But at the same time, I don't ignore the fact that I need to make money, and that is the reasonable thing to do. And so yeah, I have my other things to support me, and I guess that's how I marry my art life with how I keep myself secure.
Very, very pragmatic. I notice on your many social platforms that you work with a lot of fashion and beauty brands. So there are many content creators in Singapore or in the world. What is your individual inroad into this to I guess, give your own personal creative take on the content you produce for brands?
Yeah, like I said, I think the social media aspect to being an actor is an interesting dynamic because I don't want to really be famous. I just want to do really good work, and I want people to know me for being a good actor. But at the same time, you have to be known publicly in order for people to hire you. That's just a fact of life. And so I was resistant at first to the whole social media thing. But like Esther was talking about, the relationship between creative and brand can actually be very symbiotic. And I realized that if I present a very authentic version of myself on social media, I will attract the kind of brand partnership that speaks to me and that will value me for who I am as an actor, not somebody who is trying to be an influencer or become famous on social media. And I think that I've been lucky enough to find certain fashion brands, local brands, that are wonderful, and they know my style, they know where my heart is, and I think they're willing to craft their brief according to what suits me as a person, as an actor, and it's been wonderful to negotiate these partnerships because it is a side of social media that I didn't think was possible at first.
Thank you. I think the myth of the art world or the creative world is many of us usually see artists or directors being put on a pedestal, but like many types of work, artwork and creative work is really about teamwork. If you think of a play or musical or immersive experience or launching new baru, it's really pulling together the band of brothers. So my next question really is about partnerships and collaboration. Collaborations shape your work and I guess the impact you can make. So what's your advice or one or two tips, right, based on a recent project you've worked on or a current project that you're working on building a good, strong partnership between creatives and businesses? Yeah.
I guess on the partnerships aspect is I think to see the playground of which the business can agree on and the creative can play in. And I think with a lot of our projects, not just New Baru, but for example, if we worked on a branding project, like what you need is a brand or like a visual identity, but you don't need, perhaps you can find opportunities for artists to work on it. And with that, you actually get a product that it's a lot richer in storytelling, that has a bit more perspective. And this is actually the playground that what I try to actually put together that actually speaks to both the businesses and the creative to understand this is where we play and this is where we agree. And I think like if we can start to see businesses and creative not as like a tug of war, but actually a playground, an agreed playground on this is where we go, it will definitely enrich a lot of the things we see in the world today.
What's a recent project that you just worked on that sort of, demonstrates this? Is it Belimbing or New Baru?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like we can speak a bit about Belimbing. Like, I mean, we do think that as
Share with us what Belimbing is.
Okay. Yes, correct. So Belimbing is our latest sister concept from the Coconut Club. It's set out to tell and showcase the story of Singapore cuisine in ways that you've never seen before. I think the genesis of this was a thought as to, if you imagine the Singaporean cuisines that we have today, they're actually 60 years old. And for a country that says we are modern and progressive, so what's next for Singapore and how will we eat next? So I think with this, again, going back to the playground, like that was the brief, whether it was for the chef, for the creators on it, for the artists on it, it was always about how do we tell the Singapore story in a new and refreshed manner. So when we brought on even makers like Sancha from Tanchen Studio, it was a lot of how they could use techniques similar to the chef, like they could use techniques that were always very embedded into their practice, but told in a different way.
Just as an observation, Lo and Behold Group, what you guys seem to have done is you've kept your core purpose and DNA very, very clear, and you've actually built actually a house of brands, many, many, many different brands, but it seems to keep going back to this Singapore story.
I think it's a blend of both. Like the mission at the group is actually to make our city more livable, and we can only do that if we are proud of what the city is. Two, always like I think about it from a creative angle, and I think with that, it's not an angle that you add on to the business, but actually how the business runs and operates and think about problems. So I think that with that has been the through line across all our concepts. It's always to start with the why. How can it be told in a creative manner? Who are the creatives you can work with? How does it make a difference? What kind of difference are we trying to make here in the world?
Thank you. Stuart, I was very struck by your 8-year journey and I guess the ups and downs of it. It must have been, well, lots of highs, but some really tough moments. We know that you have a new project coming up. So how do you bring, I guess, the partnership learnings from the 8-year journey between creatives and balancing with business into this new concept? And tell us a little bit more about it.
So we took over a piece of land, 25,000 square feet. We are building a thing called A141. It's going to be an immersive lifestyle hub. Everything to do with it is going to be filled with things that are going to bring Singaporeans to be entertained, fun. You could imagine like if Hasbro were to activate Uno social club or Monopoly deal or something like that. Along Mattel or Hasbro, IPs that can activate location-based entertainment stuff. Exactly how we are viewing our business right now as an IP company activating business, right? So Absurdity is going to do an interesting, weird speakeasy thing that's going to happen. The courtyard is going to be a fun activation thing for art, installation, but also events that will bring together the community. We will have 3 levels full of immersive activities. What is immersive? Basically, if you enter the space and you forget that you are in Singapore, or you forget you're in this building and you're taken into a different world. That's the goal of what we do. So it has to do with audio, visual, more than just projection mapping and stuff like that. It can do with the space design, it can do with the actors or the people that you meet, even the person that coming through the door when they first greet you and stuff, can also affect your perception of being immersed into this world. So we took over the space. We're about to break the ground soon. End of the year, we're going to open A141, just half of it. And then the other half of the year is where we will fill more stuff inside, I guess. Yeah. But the baseline of everything that we do is about fun. So if there is no fun in what we're doing and it doesn't bring fun to the lives of the people, then there is no point in doing what we're doing. Yeah.
And this harkens back to the earlier panel's discussion on play and fun. And I guess post-COVID, it's really about the face-to-face experience, right? Shi-An, any tips, tricks on how brands can work with creatives in good partnerships?
I think that these 2 businesses here are wonderful examples of how brands can work with creatives. I think that Lo and Behold and so forth are very, very well known in the artistic industry for being able to work so well with artists and art, and it melts seamlessly into their businesses. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because obviously money is an important factor when it comes to this. But recently I worked with Marina Bay Sands. Essentially what I did for them, along with some other artists, was it's a commercial, but it was done in such an elevated way. I think that they took a lot of care to understand the indie Singapore film scene. They got people from that side of the film scene, the more independent side, to do their everything, do the script writing, the directing, the cinematography, and I think that gave us as actors the sense that, okay, they really care and they want to use our talents to promote their business, which is a hotel at the end of the day, but by, I think, approaching it from an independent standpoint, that support feels wonderful, and so you feel much more inclined to work with them, despite it being more of a commercial sort of project. And I think that we are moving in that direction in Singapore, And our art scene is growing, and it's growing fast. And I see that brands are able to acknowledge that and try and work it into how they work with us in the future. Yeah.
Thanks for that. I guess for brands, it would be in working with creative, make sure there's genuine care and authenticity, and not to be afraid of the micro tribe of, let's say, the independents, because that could give your brand a very unique voice. Last question, since it's all about looking ahead and the future, so I would like to touch a little bit on the future of creativity. So I'm sure at this forum we've spoken ad nauseum about AI, and of course streaming platforms, and my favorite A word, algorithms. So they are really transforming the way we live and the way we experience entertainment and the arts. So in 10 years, right, will creativity and human imagination still be celebrated, or just manufactured and judged by clicks? My question is, how do we keep the human spark alive in the creative economy? Last question, take it away.
I guess we have to be quite stubborn as creatives, and I think stubborn and also deliberate with how and what we do. I think when we talk about AI, numbers, data, or how many clicks you get on a social media post, those are the what. What do you measure? What do you see? But creativity and creative is the how. How do you get there? What do you do? What stories do you tell? Who do you work with? Like, I think it's important to be stubborn about the how, and not forget that this is what the creative economy is about, the creative industry is about, and push through the next 10 years, and not be distracted by the what. I mean, it is important, but the how is what makes it come alive. Yeah.
Let's mix it up a bit. Shi-An.
I'm not afraid, actually. Feel like I get asked this question a lot because both my jobs as an actor and a graphic designer are seemingly at risk from AI, but I have seen how I'm still crucial and how I'm still valued right now. And yes, things are going to change, but yeah, I feel like the human touch cannot be replaced. And in acting, even in graphic design and creativity, you need the human heart as the fuel behind it for it to connect with people. And yeah, I'm not afraid.
Stuart, you have the last word.
I think these things are going to be a lot more efficient. You will need the humans to do better curation, and I think we will do a very good job. I've been using AI in a lot of things, right? But you still need a guiding hand, right? And the creative overall vision. So it's more about humans being more, reading up a lot more about how to create what they want and getting there, and then having AI do the job a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more efficient, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, to create is to be human, and we've done that for thousands of years. So I think just going back to that, or remember to go back to that, will create the impact that we want to see. Yeah.
I love that. That's a wonderful closing line. To create is to be human. So today we talked about building communities and being stubborn. And Stuart, you shared with us your 8-year journey. We wish you the best for A141. But your point about the little things that matter, perhaps even the person at the door, creating that immersive experience for you. And Shi-An, don't be afraid. I think that's what I'm taking away from you. So as a wrap up, I think what I would like to say is the creative economy is not, artists and art is not a nice to have. It's a must, because it's the fuel, right, that drives growth, innovation, and impact. 2, we talked a lot about collaborations and partnerships, so go forth and multiply. We have amazing creatives in Singapore, the folks on stage here, or come bug me. And 3rd, if I had a call to arms, it would be invest in creators, embrace the ideas they have, talk to them, and keep creativity at the heart of your brand. So thank you guys, and thank you for being a great audience.
Thank you, Lynette.
Thank you, everyone.